r/AskReddit, which legendary Reddit post comment can you still not get over? There was a post on RAWW of a gorilla using sign language to tell people not to feed it or something to that effect. To this day, I still laugh when I think about a comment that said, "It's a shame there's so many deaf gorillas." This 14-year kid in a NSFW post when asked what he was doing there, and he replied, "I don't go to work, I mean, they're not wrong." There was one that I've never been able to find again, but some guy insulted somebody and he replied with something like "says the virgin with a 3-inch penis" and provided links from the other guy's post history that proved both those assertions. It was an absolute burial. You love to see it. One time someone had gone digging through my comment history on another account and said, "You post in our anime so you're clearly just a fat neck, but who will die alone?" I looked at his post history and his literal last post was on relationship advice saying, "I am a fat neck but who will probably die alone." I guess people really do project their insecurities onto others. There was some discussion in comments about Slav squat, and someone asked what is Slav and the reply was, "Baby don't hurt me no more." Something I will never forget. Some guy in our unpopular opinion says that wearing socks in the shower feels great. There was a guy, I believe he was a nurse, who wrote about the time he was eating out his girlfriend and she squirted when she came. Apparently it's less parts female ejaculation than it is just straight up pee, and the OP noted it tasted very sweet. He asked if she was diabetic. She wasn't. He told her to get her blood sugar levels tested and inadvertently saved her life. She had undetected diabetes. Orgasms save lives, kids. The story of Yu Jason Inhal is one of the saddest stories that I have read on the internet. If you guys don't know the story, Yu Jason Inhal was a fellow Reddit user that posted his story regarding his wife's cheating with his neighbor on our relationship advice. Our relationship advice told him that he will be better off divorcing his wife than to deal with her. A few days later he posts something on our legal advice to see how he can secure custody of his 2 children during the divorce. His wife, named Brandy Worley, found the legal advice thread. The same day she found the Reddit posts, she kills both kids to spite her soon-to-be ex-husband. Brandy then calls 911 telling the operator that she stabbed herself and her 2 children because her husband was divorcing her. The call was recorded with Brandy showing no remorse or emotion during the call. This whole situation was unfolding live on Reddit and 4chan. Brandy was given 120 years in prison with a jury saying she doesn't regret her decision not one bit. Believe I saw it on Reddit, a RedTech related post. Guy starts a new job as a system admin, no other it at the place. Previous admin had been there for just about fucking forever and left behind some documentation, but not enough to make the job easy. The guy finds a note from the previous tech with a few missed tips, and then says if there is a critical emergency and everything else has failed, there is a box in the server room behind the switch, open only as a last resort. Guy is there for a few years, metaphorical fires get fixed, he learns the tricks of the place, but one day the server doesn't boot, tries everything, can't get it to work, all the files are there, the company can't function, actual fires are about to start. Guy freaks out and remembers the emergency box and figures now should be an emergency and figures maybe the guy left access info to site backups or tape drives or some sort of disaster recovery and goes into the server room. Behind the switch is a box, pulls it out and opens it to find a bottle of tequila. I tried really hard to find the original post but I couldn't find it anymore. It was a post in a Am I the Asshole where an Uber driver drove a girl to a restaurant where she was meeting her boyfriend. Before he dropped her off, he gave her a respectful comment, nothing inappropriate and without any bad intentions. He was asking if he was the asshole and the answer was no. The best part happened in the comments section where somebody asked if he was living in a specific city. He replied a little freaked out with yes. Turn out it was the stranger cousin that he gave the compliment to. After he dropped her off at the restaurant, she went inside to meet her boyfriend. However, it wasn't a nice night because he broke up with her. She told her cousin that the compliment that her Uber driver gave her some comfort or made her happy or something like that. The girl and the Uber driver then contacted each other through the cousin. I don't know what happened afterwards, but if somebody knows this post, I will give you a virtual hug if you could link it. Not me, but an old friend of mine. Really quiet, soft-spoken, polite guy. A total gentleman and a graduate student in the liberal arts. Also, pretty inexperienced, tentative, and vanilla sexually. He's dating this really cool girl for maybe 2 months. She is much kinkier in bed. She floats the idea of dirty talk, and apparently likes to be objectified, even demeaned a bit, from time to time. He's hesitant, but wants to please her and doesn't dismiss the idea outright. Changes the subject and figures that they'll revisit the idea another time. Anyway, they have sex a few days later for the first time since the conversation. Really going at it doggy style, and she tells him to talk dirty to her. He says that he can't think of anything to say, so he says nothing, and she then repeats the request, but the second time she is not fucking requesting, but demanding it. He comes up with, "Yeah, you like that, you fucking retard." He's never struck me as one for embellishment, so I believe him. He said that was it for sex that night, although they are still together 2 years on now. The one comment by a guy who heard one of his teammates in an online game break up with his girlfriend when she won't let him finish his game, because she wants to go out for dinner. It was from an AskReddit post asking about this dude forgot to turn off his mic moment. Most memorable part for me is how girl issued an ultimatum saying that if he won't quit that game right now she will leave, and dude just went hold on, I'll break up with my girl on the mic, and proceeds to go berserk on the girl saying that she lives on his dime, and he pays for her food and gives her money for shopping, and she don't get to issue ultimatums to him because this is his house, and then told her to gtfo. PS I saw this a long time ago and on an older account, so I do not remember exactly everything. Sorry if I got anything wrong. That one AskReddit where the question was, if you could have sex with anyone who's dead, who would it be? There was this really heartfelt message about a guy lamenting over the loss of his wife and how he'd never found anyone even close to her, not just emotionally, but physically. Really emotional, tear-jerking sincerity. Then there was the guy who replied to him saying, "You know what, on second thought, I'd chose that guy's dead wife. Fucking hysterical. Jesus Christ, Reddit mayo. My family poops big. Maybe it's genetic, maybe it's our diet, but everyone births giant logs of crap. If anyone has laid a mega poop, you know that sometimes it won't flush. It lays across the hole in the bottom of the bowl and the vortex of draining water merely gives it a spin as it mocks you." Growing up, this was a common enough occurrence that our family had a poop knife. It was an old rusty kitchen knife that hung on a nail in the laundry room, only to be used for that purpose. It was normal to walk through the hallway and have someone call out, "Hey, can you get me the poop knife?" I thought it was standard kit. You have your plunger, your toilet brush, and your poop knife. Fast forward to 22. It's been a day or two between poops and I'm over at my friend's house. My friend was the local dealer and always had guests over, because you can't buy weed without sitting on your ass and sampling it for an hour. I excuse myself and lay a gigantic turd. I look down and see that it's a sideways one, so I crack the door and call out for my friend. He arrives and I ask him for his poop knife. "My what, your poop knife?" I say. "I need to use it. Please." WTF is a poop knife? Obviously he has one, but maybe he calls it by a more delicate name. A fecal cleaver? A dung divider? A guano glaive? I explain what it is I want and why I want it. He starts giggling. Then laughing. Then lots of people start laughing. It turns out, the music stopped and everyone heard my pleas through the door. It also turns out that none of them had poop knives, it was just my fucked up family with their fucked up bowels. FML. I told this to my wife last night, who was amused and horrified at the same time. It turns out that she did not know what a poop knife was and had been using the old rusty knife hanging in the utility closet as a basic utility knife. Thankfully she didn't cook with it, but used it to open Amazon boxes. She will be getting her own utility knife now. Edit. Common question: why was this not in the bathroom instead of the laundry room? Answer. We only had one poop knife, and the laundry room was central to all 3 bathrooms. I have no idea why we didn't have 3 poop knives. All I know is that we didn't. We had the one. Possibly because my father was notoriously cheap about the weirdest things. So yes, we shared our poop knife. The man who redirected an entire warship to get the sun off his eyes. I was once on a US military ship, having breakfast in the wardroom, officer's lounge, when the operations officer, ops, walks in. This guy was the definition of not a morning person. He's still half asleep, bleary-eyed, basically a zombie with a bagel. He sits down across from me to eat his bagel and is just barely conscious. My back is to the outboard side of the ship, and the morning sun is blazing in one of the portholes, putting a big bright ass circle of light right on his barely conscious face. He's squinting and chewing and basically just remembering how to be alive for today. It's painful to watch. But then zombie ops stops chewing, slowly picks up the phone, and dials a bridge. In his well-known I'm still totally asleep voice, he says, "EI. It's ops. Could you shift our bar put, yeah, 165. Thanks." And puts the phone down. And then he just sits there, squinting, waiting. And then, ever so slowly, I realize that that big blazing spot of sun has begun to slide off the zombie's face and onto the wall behind him. After a moment it clears his face and he blinks slowly a few times, and the brilliant beauty of what I've just witnessed begins to overwhelm me. By ordering the bridge to adjust the ship's back and forth patrol by about 15 degrees, he's changed our course just enough to reposition the sun off of his face. He's literally just redirected thousands of tons of steel and hundreds of people so that he could get the sun out of his eyes while he eats his bagel. I am in awe. He slowly picks up his bagel, and for a moment I'm terrified at the thought that his own genius may escape him, that he may never appreciate the epic brilliance of his laziness, since he's not going to wake up for another hour. But between his next bites he pauses, looks at me, and gives me the faintest, sly grin, before returning to gnaw slowly on his zombie bagel. I dated a girl who had never heard the word alley before, not alley cat, not bowling alley, and had never seen a house whose driveway was in the back instead of the front. I drove her past my childhood home, and she said, "Wow, I can't believe nobody on your street is home on a Sunday afternoon," because there were no cars parked at the curbs. I said they probably went in through the alley, and she laughed at me and said, "The what?" She laughed at the sound of the word alley, and teased me about throwing French words into conversation to try and sound fancy. She was baffled at the idea of a tiny street just for getting into the backyards, and just wouldn't believe that everyone on the street would unanimously agree to design their home with the garage in the back. I was certain she was pulling a "no, what is potato?" But, no, she was just very sheltered, and very ignorant, and very confident that I was trying to tease or make fun of her. She never stopped doubling down. Eventually it got really sad. Not quite as strange, but my brother's ex-wife had never seen or heard the word extravaganza, and we passed a McDonald's that said Nuggets Extravaganza on its sign, and she asked, "What's a vaganza?" We had no idea what the hell she was talking about, and then she said McDonald's said they have nuggets with extravaganza. My brother almost wrecked. We were laughing so hard,